Good evening.
I'd like to see some of your.
We've got a full house tonight. I'd like to call to order the September 26th, 2017 Planning Board meeting. The first item on our agenda is the minutes from September 12th.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend approval of the minutes of September 12, 2017.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, none? The next item on our agenda is public comment, and this is reserved for anyone who has something to say to us for a couple of minutes that is not on our agenda. Is there anyone here that needs to speak to us for something that's not on our agenda tonight? Okay, thank you very much. The next is, Bob?
I'd like to move to take the agenda out of order so that we can address an issue, which is request for a road name change from Colonial Way to Hydrangea Circle.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we're moving, for the do we have someone for the applicant for the road name change?
I'm present.
Could you step up?
Just asking to change the name.
Please introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Daniel McClone, representative of Colonel's Way Subdivision LLC. We're just asking to change the name that was current before we previously purchased the property. Changing it from Colonel's Way to Hydrangea Circle.
You need a motion? Yes, you do.
I move that we honor the request to change the name from Colonel's Way to Hydrangea Circle.
Second.
Any further discussion, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All set.
Okay, I now move to go back to the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none? Back on the agenda. Okay. Next is approval not required plans received between September 13th and September 26th. And the first, or the only one, is the Town of Falmouth to divide a parcel into 3 lots located at 394 Old Meeting House Road. And we have the plans in front of us. Has everyone had time to review them? You all been up to the office and see them?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we need someone to move endorsement, if that's the,
Any questions?
I'll move that we endorse the request to divide a parcel into 3 lots located at 394 Old Meeting House Road.
I'll second.
any further discussion before we vote? Any questions? John, you have any questions?
No.
Everyone all set? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Moving on. Well, here we go. This is a public hearing. Okay, so for board members, this is not our discussion. We're here to listen. It's important for us to do that. The first article for the town meeting, to see if the town of Falmouth will vote to rezone real property located at 4 Central Avenue, East Falmouth, containing 33,474 square feet of land, being map 32, section 4, parcel 1, lot 1, from the existing business 3 zone and agricultural B zone zoning districts into B3 zoning district, to amend the official map to reflect such zoning changes on the request of Daniel C. McClone. Do we have a presentation?
I just have a little thing to say. My name is Dan McClone. I am representing Nickerson Street LLC. Currently, the property located at the intersection of 28 and Central Ave, East Falmouth. The property is 33,474 square feet in area and has 2 zoning districts. Has Business 3 and Agricultural B. The Business 3 makes up 10,844 square feet. The Agricultural B Zone makes up 22,630 square feet. The petition is to seek to rezone the property into solely a Business 3 zoning district. The property is presently under construction for 4 condominiums in 2 different buildings, where rezoning would permit the ability to add a separate garage for each one of the units so that they have safe parking and for their vehicles and also additional storage. Because the garage is located in the existing agricultural B district, it would not be permitted as an accessory structure for no principal structure in the zoning district of the B3. No additional units would be created by this rezone. Under Falmouth Code, we had we could have put up to 4.6 units, which we put the 4 according to the plan, and we maximized it to where we wanted that. We're just petitioning to change the zoning for the sole purpose of adding single bay garages per unit condo at the property. We hope that you look favorable upon this request and render a positive vote.
Okay, anyone else like to speak in this article? Please step up and identify yourself.
Anybody getting to us from back here? My name is Stephen F. Guerra. I live at 3 Scribnaker Drive, East Falmouth, Massachusetts. And we have some questions about it. We've been here, this is our 4th time here dealing with this issue. And in good faith, the 2nd time in, they decided they would put 4 condos, 2 buildings there, okay? And so everybody said, okay, that looks pretty good, the plan. They're going about doing it. Our concern is, are they really trying to change the environment over there to make it, what does this mean when they go to the next level and change the zoning? Can anybody tell me? No?
Oh, this is a hearing tonight. We're here to listen to you.
Well,
We're not having a discussion. There'll be other discussions. Tonight's a hearing. This is for the public to tell us what you think.
well, the only problem I have is we got a letter in the mail, okay? And they changed, asking the zoning to be changed. We have no idea what that means to us as laymen. All right, so if nobody here has an idea what it's going to be, how can I really comment on what the proposed changes are going to happen and how they're going to affect me? So that's where we stand right now. We're sort of in this dark of, we went after this thing and said, okay, this is great. We thought they were first going to put garages in with apartments over it, and that was not the plan. They actually put a plan in place for 2 buildings, 4 condos. Looked nice, okay? So now we're saying, okay, why do we need to change it? If they're going to add 2 garages to the place with no really increase in occupancy as far as the garages, that's what our concern was when we first started this thing, that they were going to put the garages in with people coming in to live there and working in the neighborhood. That's not going to happen. We have figured, right?
Yeah, we're just putting single bay stalls.
Single bay stall, but nobody can tell me what the actual zoning requirement means when the change is over. If somebody can tell me that it doesn't mean that much, and I'll walk away a happy man. Nobody knows.
No, we know. It's just not our job to tell him. You can come into the planning office, you can go any town office and ask these questions, okay, but this is just a hearing tonight. We want to
Okay.
listen to what you want to say.
I want you
But the
to-
zoning is published, it's a book. My questions on zoning, the really thing is to go Code of Falmouth, okay, and type in 240 and read B3, and everything that's allowed spells out right in front of you, right there. Instantaneous, you don't need a book anymore, everything's available online. It's quick, quick, quick.
I love it, thank you very much.
That's all you really need, but that, well, no, but that's our source, that's your source.
It's not that easy to understand, but maybe you do, but we don't.
That's what I suggest.
You understand and we don't.
Then you should come, if you have questions on what you read online, come up to the planning office and ask Brian to explain it.
You're the planning?
Yeah, that is the process, okay? This, I want you to understand, this is a hearing
Town
tonight,
planner?
okay? I'm just trying to do the process.
That's fine.
I got somebody you can help me, so.
Well, to clarify,
get
my
control.
original plan, when we first proposed it, which you saw and...
Hold on, wait a second.
Well,
Sit down, please.
Me?
Yeah, both of you. We're gonna have order here, okay? I have to recognize you. Sir, are you finished with your comments?
Yes.
Do you have any more questions, or?
The question is, what is this change going to be in the zoning to affect the neighborhood around it, which is kind of a nice neighborhood to be in? Okay, that's the question I have. So if he's the man to talk to, I'll look at the book.
Please look it up yourself first, yeah?
Yeah, Why don't we get the public comments
Yep.
in for the board, and maybe then once we get all the information, I can sort of.
He can summarize at the end.
Summarize it a little bit for you.
Okay.
Let's find out what's on their minds first.
Hi, I'm Gordon Matheson, 18 Squibnocket Drive. As was mentioned earlier, this whole discussion was held, I'm going to guess, about 10 years ago. And one of the things that I brought up then is, I believe that's Nickerson Road there, the white one going up.
Squibnocket, no,
Where's Nickerson?
it's, Nickerson's actually in Mara Vista.
Yeah, it's Mayor Vista.
It has nothing to do with
It's
this.
just an easement driveway. It's right where the HEB is.
Okay, so, but didn't they call that Nickerson Way? They did before.
I think it's the name of the entity is Nickerson LLC. You're confusing the entity with the street, but that's, okay, I was confused too.
All right, in any case, so this isn't really a bona fide road, that was the discussion.
It's a driveway.
It's a driveway, okay, that has heavy traffic right now. A lot of heavy traffic right now. When a car goes down here, or a truck, like a dump truck, okay, and someone's coming out of one of the two houses here, that truck has to back out onto 28. And I brought this up 10 years ago, okay? The driveway isn't really a road, but it's being used as a road. It's functioning as a road, okay? So I think if anything's gonna be done here, as I mentioned 10 years ago, that right of way should be widened.
Okay.
I know this is not what the discussion is.
Right,
but it's
we're getting
pertinent
out.
to that.
No, but those things should have been done on site plan. We have hearings where we do site plan review.
Right.
And other, those things are, there's another venue for that. This is a change of zoning.
Right.
And you're
I'm
talking
getting
about
to
lot
that, too.
specific.
That's point number 2. I don't want to lose sight of this, because when I asked the board 10 years ago what happened, it just fell through the cracks. That was the answer that some of you were here at this meeting. It just fell through the cracks. And I went down to the planning board the next day and I said, can you promise me that by the time they do anything to that lot?
Sir, did you come to our meeting a year ago when we discussed this?
Probably wasn't notified.
Okay, because it fell through the
Because I
cracks.
come to every,
I have to widen it. Part of-
This is not on our agenda.
okay.
You're off track.
I don't think I'm off track. I think I'm here just to learn something, okay? Because I asked the town if they had a definition of road, and they said, we really don't. Okay, and I've served on many zoning boards. I'd like to put a request in that the town of Falmouth define what a road is. Okay?
This is another agenda. We're not here to discuss our zoning laws tonight.
So it falls through the cracks.
Fell through the cracks.
Jim,
Okay,
Jim.
because that has to be addressed. I just want that, I'm seeing you're all taking notes, because otherwise it's gonna fall.
Well, this is recorded, sir, so.
Okay, good. Okay, that's great, because there are other issues with that right away. And maybe you and I can have a
Okay,
talk.
now, I gotta, right, if you don't mind,
Yeah,
I'd like to
right
go
ahead.
back to
I don't
the
mind at all.
issue on our agenda. It's not the site plan of the right-of-way.
Okay.
We're talking about the rezoning. I'll listen to any more comments you have about the rezoning, but please
Okay.
refer the site
That-
plan issues. You missed the meeting. It was a year ago.
If I wasn't notified, I would have been here if I were notified, okay? Some things I get, some things I don't. Nonetheless, if you check the history of this lot, my understanding from our last meeting was that it was 40B housing. Does anybody know that? That's what we were told at the meeting, that lot was 40B.
What meeting, sir, were you told that?
10 years ago. I don't have the minutes on me right now.
Was it a planning board meeting?
Yeah, it was. Yep.
This is way off topic, I'm sorry, that's not what we're here to discuss tonight.
Well, what are we to discuss? That maybe that
The
would help.
rezoning of this property from business, from agricultural B to B3. That's what they're asking for. That is the topic of our discussion tonight.
But a lot of us are coming here tonight thinking that was 40B, and that's what it should still be. We don't even know when, in the dark of night, somehow it got changed.
Sir,
From low-income housing,
okay, wait.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's not 40B, somehow you're misinformed, I can't help that, you're off target.
Jim,
40B, yeah.
It's not, it's,
Jim.
no.
Brian, go
Just-
ahead.
Just at this point, Mr. Chairman, well, it might be helpful to at least get the comments, not a back and forth. You can continue this if need be. Folks can come in, I can talk to them, so everyone's on the same page. We have definitions of streets. There's no applications under the general statute of 40B. And that way, we can have a little bit more of
I
a
agree.
constructive
I agree.
discussion. But let's just get the comments
I'm just
tonight.
putting it on the
Mr.
notes.
Chairman, I have the floor,
minutes.
please.
Okay.
I have the floor, please. We gotta have a little decorum. Let's get the concerns of the residents, and we can go from there. But we're not gonna get anywhere with the back and forth we're having, such as we are having right now. So let's continue our hearing and go from there.
Anyone else like to speak on this issue?
Could I just have him clarify something? I see a thin line in the AGB section, just south, the one right there.
Yes.
Okay, is that a road?
It's a property line.
Yes,
That's a pro-
the easement.
Okay,
There's 3 houses.
Yeah.
On this
Okay.
shared driveway.
Yeah, okay.
And that shared driveway goes right over all the properties
Okay.
to the end.
And is that parcel part of the
This
parcel?
here this is our lot. This is
Okay,
the outline
that's-
of our
okay.
lot. When they divided the lot on the business zone,
Sure.
this is business, it's actually,
There's
this is
a
actually
laser
AGA
pointer
too,
or
it
something.
wraps around. It's just like a square in the center
Okay,
is the business zone.
okay.
It's wrapped in agricultural, so that's where we're trying to get, we would like to put garages, but we can't have garages
Okay.
in
I
a
just wanted to
separate
make sure
zone.
I was looking at-
That's the whole point of rezoning the whole lot.
Right.
So that we can put garages, we're not creating any more density, we're not building any more buildings,
Right,
it's as cut and dry as.
I just wanted to make sure I was looking at the right
It's just a
parcel.
technicality difference between zoning,
right.
and that's what I'm here to clarify
Yeah.
for the
Thank you.
neighbors.
Excuse me, no, pardon. If you would like to speak, please come up and identify yourself. And all comments, the way our work is, you have to ask us. You don't talk between yourselves. So if you would address us, then we'll refer you back.
Mary Burrow from Chester, from Squibnocket Drive.
Can you speak to us, please?
Are those garages going to be attached to the houses? They're going to be separate garages.
Correct. Separate off the.
Okay, well,
So
hang on,
is-
folks,
is-
the way
is
this
that gonna
works.
be- is that- there's gonna
I'm
be-
sorry, wait a second. Everything, no back and forth here. You get to ask the question, and then we ask him. I'm sorry, that's our procedure.
Okay.
Ask us, we ask him, that's the rule.
Are they going to be used for business?
Do you have any other questions before I let him have it? Any more?
No, that's the question
Okay,
I'm asking.
go
That's
ahead.
the first question I'm
Okay,
asking.
could you get up and address this issue now?
Yeah. Our plan is to have single-bay duplex-style garages where there'll be 4 units attached to each condominium that we sell. There is no commercial use to the garages. They are attached. If someone has a home business or something, I can't tell them what they can store in and out of their garage, but the garages are for the buyers or the residents of the condominium complex.
Excuse me, you used the
Yes.
word attached. That has a meaning that means it's attached to the structure. You mean-
Deededly, they're deeded.
They're owned, I
They're
thought, I
owned,
just
I'm
want to
sorry.
correct you.
They'll
That's
be
going to lead to
deeded
some
per
confusion.
condo.
They're a detached garage.
Correct.
But they are an exclusive use to the condo that owns them.
Correct. It's just like if you own a house and you have a garage detached, it's the same.
Detached. I was just correcting the
I'm
words.
sorry.
That could lead to a lot of confusion.
Okay, I'm not trying to confuse you.
So I guess that's.
You all set?
Not really.
Do you have any more questions?
I don't really believe it, because everything just, you know, you
Please.
change it, it keeps changing. Keeps changing.
Anybody else?
Okay.
Okay, so
I'm going to move that we continue this discussion, continue the hearing on Mr. McClone's request for a zoning change with the purpose that the residents can go to the planning office and get a better understanding of what the change in zoning might mean. Brian, we would continue this to possibly what date?
let's see, you will have to continue this till Tuesday, October 17th, 6:30, here in the town hall.
Okay. Tuesday, October 17th.
Unless you want to meet the 10th. But probably this, I'm sorry, it would be, let's see, next week's the 3rd.
Okay.
Continue with, I'm sorry, I don't have my trusty handy-dandy assistant here.
Please, wait. Hold on, folks, we're
so-
trying to resolve something here.
So, yeah, just, please, do you have your calendar on? Today's 26. You're so good to me. So let's continue this hearing to next week, Tuesday, October 3rd, 6:30, here in the town hall.
October 3rd.
Okay.
Okay, and this should give everybody an opportunity to do some research and come ask questions, so you know what you're dealing with. Okay?
Okay, so then we need to.
So you need a
second
motion
that.
to that effect
I'll
from the
second.
board.
So we have a motion, a second, to continue it? All in favor? Or comment? Yes?
The motion is now for the 3rd of October, not the 17th, is that correct?
Brian was the one who put the date in, and yes, I accept.
Right, so it should be
that.
Tuesday, the 3rd, 6:30, here in the town hall.
And it's been
Mo-
moved in second.
Moved in second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? So we're continuing. See you next week. Do your homework.
And then can you just move
Yeah,
out?
move
and
out so we can
do it
keep going.
quietly, because we have to keep on going here.
We got more of these to do. The next article. See if the town will vote to amend the official zoning map of Falmouth so as to rezone from AGA to light industrial C, 2 parcels of land located off Blacksmith Shop Road in Hatchville, which parcels are shown on the Falmouth Assessors Map 22-2-9, Assessors Map 22-2-1203, on request of Christopher Lynch and others. For the applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Edward Kirk. I'm an attorney with an office in Osterville, and I'm here representing Mr. Lynch. I'm here representing Mr. Lynch, who is also the president of the Lawrence Lynch Realty Corp. His family has been in the road building and construction business for many years in the town, and Lawrence Lynch Realty Corp. owns the site. At the present time, Mr. Lynch has an opportunity to give an option to lease and to lease this land to an entity called Borregos Solar Systems. They're a nationally known corporation that builds solar farms. At the present time, the property is zoned AGA, but as a matter of history, it's really been what we would call in that business a pit. 65 acres basically of excavated, mined land, probably hasn't been used for agriculture 60 years or more, if it ever was used for agriculture. So it's presently in a condition where it's been scooped out, hollowed out, and it's been used in that business, excavating, mining, hauling of trucks, sand, gravel, screening, and so forth. The purpose of the request for zoning change is that the town has decided to encourage these solar farms. I'm sorry, I shouldn't use that word, solar arrays. And they've made a specific provision to allow them as a matter of right.
Excuse me, that door has to stay open.
That one stays open.
State law. Pardon me.
The bylaw has a provision that allows this use as a matter of right in the light industrial C district. And that is the reason basically why we'd like to ask your support in bringing about this change. For purposes of impact and so forth, this would seem to be an ideal use of this property after all these years. The use which will be made of it is passive, to say the least. No aroma, no dust, no noise, no trucks. It's consistent with an approach whereby I think towns and individual businesses are trying to develop alternate sources of energy. In a nutshell, that's the purpose of the request. And if the request, if you were to give us a favorable report to the town meeting and it was passed, that's the use that would be taking place there. Zach Farkas, who's the project manager for Borrego Solar Systems, is here. If you feel it necessary, if you want to ask any questions about how the system itself would operate, he would be more than happy to do so, if you would like that. But we have one, see if I've upped my game at all, Mr. Fox, in the technology. See if I can get to, which way does it point?
Don't point that at me.
You don't want anything to happen to you.
Try to the side, Ed, to the side.
With the screen.
On the circle to the right. Press down.
There we
There
go.
we
That's the
go.
laser.
Yep, you had it.
All right, but I want to go just one more little photo here that I want to show you.
He wants to advance the screen.
I spoke too soon. Yeah. See, Melinda told me to go the other direction. Okay, so this is an aerial shot of the two parcels which are outlined in the yellow. And as you can see, the interior of the parcels with the potential location of the solar array superimposed on it. That's the extent of the excavation. Blacksmith Shop Road is up at the top. That's the curved line of Blacksmith Shop Road. To the left, I believe, is Locust Field, and to the right is Deer Pond Road. So that's essentially the use that would be made under a zoning change of this parcel. And if you have any questions in the air, try to answer them. And if you would like any information on the system itself, Mr. Farkas would be able to answer them.
Any other public comment?
My name's Robert Sagerman. I live at 80 Deer Pond Road. I moved there in June of '76. When I moved there, I was aware of the fact that there were gravel pits behind me. Those gravel pits operated. They didn't, they stopped. They didn't work on weekends. They stopped nice in the afternoon. I do not want to see the land go from agricultural to light industrial, because once it goes to light industrial, right now we're talking about a solar farm. What happens if that doesn't work and now I have an industrial park behind me? I mean, the gravel pits have been used. My understanding was when they were done being used, they were going to be reclaimed. The slope was going to be sort of the angle of repose so that it would stop eroding. They were going to be planted. I mean, I have no complaint with the solar panels or solar farm or whatever you want to call it. But why can't they just get a variance or ask to put them in and still maintain the agricultural zoning? I personally, and I've spoken to a lot of my neighbors who are here, really do not want to see our land, our neighborhood, have an industrial park behind it. I have looked up on the town website. I know what light industrial is, and I really do not want to live with an industrial zone behind me, a light industrial zone. For my backyard, I have an acre of land. Behind me, there's a buffer strip that Mr. Larkin owns. There's 300 committee land, and then there are the pits. I also was under the impression that those gravel pits are a water recharge area. And in that case, how could you take and put in an industrial zoning knowing that that opens up, once you've opened it up, you can't turn it away? I think it should stay agricultural, and if they want to put in their solar array, they should get a permit and do it under the agricultural zoning. Thank you.
Yes, please come up.
Hi, Mr. Chairman. My name's Nancy Kerrigan. My ex-husband and I, along with another couple, have owned 2 acres that abut this property for many, many years. In the last 2 weeks, my son has purchased one and I am taking the other one. So we're going to, we both plan to put homes there. So we're going to be right beside this area. I'm grateful for the explanation this gentleman just made. My concern is also, I have no objection to the solar, but if the property zoning is changed to light industrial, what would that mean in the future? If in fact you're leasing it to this company for solar panels, but if there is a change to take place in the future, the zoning has already been changed, how will that affect the property in the future? And like I said, we're going to have 2 residential houses right beside it on either side of Lower Road. And so if it were solar panels, it's my understanding, you know, there would be a buffer around the area, of course, to protect it. But if it changes from that, if that doesn't work, if Lawrence and Lynch decides that they want to do something differently in the future with that property, if we've changed it to light industrial, then that opens up a whole different array. So that's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? And then,
hi, everyone. My name is Dave Moriarty. I'm a butter. I live right on the pond there. And I have a couple of questions for the developer. Where are the transformers going to be? They're very noisy. And is there a wildlife corridor in there? Because it's all wildlife out there. Deers come running through all the time, turkeys, turtles, everybody is there. So that would be my concern, and I think, you know, a variance would be better than changing the zoning. That would be my opinion. Thank you. Can we get a couple answers from anyone about this question?
we're listening to all the questions.
Paul Larkin. I own some property along Deer Pond Road. I'd like to point out that I heard all this wood gravel land. This is all stolen land from the Boy Scouts, like this piece here, 4 or 5 acres, I think. And I believe the town bought it. And the solar is fine by me. I think it should be stipulated that's exactly what it should be. And should be well fenced. I've got tons of papers saying, oh, we're going to do this for you, Mr. Larkin. We're going to do that. This started in 1980, and nobody did anything. They put up some dinky old fence there. But we got people that come down there shooting. And we called the police 2 or 3 times. I got my little grandkids and great-grandkids outside, pellets flying. coming down through the trees and the dirt bikes and everything, it's horrible. But otherwise than that, if you can control it and keep it to be a solar farm, I have no problem with that. And speaking of agriculture, nothing's been planted there. Well, I beg to differ with you because I know people that were planting beach grass there years ago. And they made a fortune with it. Thank you.
Next, who else? You, then you're next.
My name is Bill Johnson. I'm an abutter to the property. I've known Chris Lynch for many years. Everybody in town knows Lawrence Lynch. What we don't know is how much they do for this town, how much they give in time, materials, equipment. You look at events in the town, and you'll see sponsored by Falmouth Lumber, Wood Lumber, Steamship Authority, Lawrence Lynch. They give to this town. They work in the best interest of this town, without exception. If there are any problems, Lawrence Lynch will take care of it. They're not going to do anything that is detrimental to the town of Falmouth.
Quid pro quo.
You had something to say, please, come up.
Right.
I wasn't.
My name is Debbie Olmsted. I live on Deer Pond Road. I take issue with changing the zoning, like my neighbors, Robert Stegerman and Kerrigan and Paul. I also take issue with the fact that we are, if you look at the map, it's residentially settled here, and then it's conservation. So is this really the best place for a solar farm? I applaud solar energy. We all are looking for a greener way to give us electricity, but is this really the best place for a solar farm? I think that also has to be looked into too. I object to changing the zoning because I do believe that can't be changed, and I have concerns about the solar farm. I'm not saying that I object to it, but I think we need to know more about. I walk through those sand pits every single day for over 20 years with my animals. There's a lot of wildlife out there. And I have looked online and looked into what solar farms, what they include, what's entailed. There's a peripheral fence, there's signs saying for hazards, you know, keeping people out. Who's going to maintain that? And along the neighborhood line there, how is that going to affect all the wildlife that goes back and forth? So there are several reasons why this should really be taken under consideration. I have no doubt that the Lynch family is they're very good citizens in this town. I've never heard anyone object to anything that they've done. But this is our neighborhood. This is a small land. I understand when the property was bought that it was agricultural. I don't know why they were able to do what they did on agricultural land while they were able to use it as a pit. But my concern is if they do change the zoning, what's going to happen after that? Because I'm looking long term. I love where we live. I love the wilderness. We have a horrible dirt road that we all have to put up with because we love this wilderness that we live in. And I have concerns that if my children, 4 of them, I'm guessing someone will get the house, I want them to have what we bought. I understand that change is inevitable, but is this change for the better? So I object to the zoning change, and I have concerns about the solar park. Thank you.
Any other public comments? You've already, something new, sir?
I would just like to comment to...
Okay, we're not going to go back too much further, but if you have something new, please.
Just to the comment about Lynch Corporation. I personally know Jerry Lynch. I find them upstanding. I have no questions about the integrity Jerry is an awesome person. But that is not the question here. The question here is taking agricultural land and turning it into light industrial. It has nothing to do whether Jerry is a good guy or not, or any of that. It's what happens once you've done that and you've opened up this door, and Jerry is not here, and it's his kid, or it's somebody else, and now, you know, you've taken this neighborhood, and you've turned it into, in the middle of it, an industrial zone, a light industrial zone.
Did you have something new?
Yeah.
Okay.
Want to hear it?
I guess we're going to.
The property up there that we have, I have built house for my mother, house for my daughter, house for my son-in-law, and they're all button that on there, and I speak for all of them as, you know, as they're not here. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
I'll just speak for you.
Okay, sorry, didn't see you.
That's okay, I'm in the back. My name is Tina Newcomb, I live on Harriet Road, and I walk the lower road and the perimeter of the sand pit every day. And there's been such a variety of wildlife in there, and that's a real concern for me, because if we turn it from agricultural to industrial, that'll never go back. And if this land's sold, what will happen? I've seen box turtles, I've seen deer, I've seen foxes this year, and they're all going into the sand pit because there's water and marsh grass, and they're using that as a resource. We see them in there, deer drinking. So there's a lot of wildlife, and you know, how would a solar farm affect that? And if it's all fenced in, it's going to change the whole, you know, the path and landscape for the animals. So I'm going to speak for the animals because they're not here.
Anybody else? So what do we do? Have hearing?
Yeah.
Yes, one last one. It's a town meeting, we have to announce that everyone that wanted to be heard was heard. That's what this is all about.
Okay. I just wanted to say that all of us on that road, well, most of us on that road, our property, I'm Amber Larkin, and we all have wells, and I don't know how changing the property to light industrial would affect our wells. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Attorney Kirk, you have one comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Understand the neighbors' concerns, especially when they hear the word light industrial. It can conjure up any kind of image of smokestacks and things of that nature. But in the Falmouth zoning bylaw, the light industrial uses are fairly passive also, and somewhat, I won't say benign, but it's things like there's only 4 permitted business uses. One is a contractor's yard. We have all around now. Wholesale supply, so that'd be a building where items are sold, and warehousing and storage buildings. So you wouldn't have an industrial park, and you wouldn't have industry the way it's previously perceived, I believe. So, but I understand the concern. And Chris Lynch is his father's son, and he takes the community responsibility seriously. If it turned out that the solar development did not occur, or if many, many years down the road, after the life of the project is over, there's not going to be a destruction of the area. It would have to be following the uses that are permitted. So, and all the concerns that have been expressed, I appreciate. But I think I can say that they really don't have to worry about an industrial park going in.
You all set?
Anyone else?
Everyone's been heard?
Pleasure of the board. Do you
Close
think
the
you have
meeting.
enough information for an informed opinion? And
Move to close the hearing on that article.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Moving forward.
So what happens next? So what happens next is the board has taken the article under advisement, and next week they'll discuss it and then offer a recommendation to town meeting that would then be published in the warrant that will go out to the town meeting members.
Can we appeal this, what they come up with?
Jim?
Yeah, this is a town meeting article. I encourage you that all we do is make a recommendation to town meeting. The real vote happens, the 240 town meeting members make this decision. We don't. All we do is tee it up for them. We have a public comment, we listen to everything you say, we present it, and town meeting decides. So we don't decide anything. All we do is say, here it is, town meeting, then you all can come there and debate it, and that's the form it actually gets changed. We just line it up.
It needs a two-thirds majority vote.
Zoning needs two-thirds majority. We're done with our discussion on this, and I'm sorry, we're finished. We're moving on to our next issue.
So those questions don't get answered. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I did tell you how to answer them. I told you where to look it up, and I suggested you
The
could
questions
come.
I asked.
I suggested you could come to the planning. This is an exclusive meeting for you. You can come up and ask the town planner and get your questions answered.
Those will be part of our discussion.
We're at a hearing tonight. That's what we're doing. We're listening. We're not discussing. Discussion's another night.
Can't wait.
Well, there's certain rules for hearings and there's certain rules for discussions. I don't make them up. This is the way we do it.
Okay, no answer.
Hey, talk to the state.
Well, it's a pleasure.
Good night. Yikes.
Yeah, very good thought.
Okay, we ready to keep moving?
Yep.
Article, to see if the town will vote to amend section 240-4 of the Code of Falmouth, previously issued permits by deleting the words 6 months and inserting in its place the words 12 months, so as to read in its pertinent part, unless the use or construction is commenced within a period of 12 months after the issuance of the permit on request of the planning board. So this is a kind of housekeeping
Yeah.
issue?
And I believe it was because of some projects that might take more than 6 months through different permitting and different boards and things that they have to go through. It's to allow them more time. It was my understanding.
Everyone else comfortable?
Any public
I'll
comment?
go to the public. Public comment on this?
Okay? I move to close the hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All set? To see if the town will vote to amend section 240-221, the Code of Falmouth, lapse, by deleting the words 2 years and inserting in its place the words 3 years, so far as to read in its pertinent part, a special permit granted under this article shall lapse 3 years from the date it is granted, on request of the planning board.
And this is another housekeeping item in order to allow people a little more time when it comes to presenting plans and going through different boards and things like that. Correct?
This is only a hearing, yes, so we're not going to discuss it. We'll discuss it another time. Public comment on this? Hearing none?
I move to close the hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Whoop. Moving right along.
Can't wait for a new AV stuff.
We're still on this agenda.
Yeah, okay. It's just another page with the same thing.
The next, this is a public discussion. Yeah, that's it, don't get me, that's done. You're coming off track here. Public discussion, applicant Kenneth Caputo to site plan review to construct a new 5,114 square foot urgent care building located at 40 Davis Straits. And part of our site plan review is a design review of the construction. We are also the design review board. So we're going to do that. We try to do it both at the same meeting. For the applicant.
My name is Peter Bassett. I represent, as developer, Lee Mills Petroleum, the owner of 40 Davis Straits. And tonight, we also are doing double tasking because the CEO and co-founder of our tenant, Convenient MD, Max Puyanik, is doing the handout work. So we would like to just have Max begin just introducing his company and what they do and what makes them special, not only in terms of the services they provide, but also in terms of what kind of a good local corporate citizen they are. And then we'll introduce Ken Caputo, whose name is on the proposal, who will give us and be responsive to some of the technical questions that you posed and need to be answered tonight. Thanks.
Max? Thanks so much. My name's Max Puyanik. I'm the co-CEO and co-founder of Convenient MD. I'm just going to take 3 minutes and give you a very high-level overview of what we do, so when you're thinking about the context of this site and the use. So we are a full-service urgent care center. My partner and I started the practice only 5 years ago. We are different than other walk-in centers in a few ways that you might be familiar with. One is the quality and the scope of care that we provide. So we're staffed just like an emergency department. We're not an emergency department, but we have ER doctors and nurses, and whereas other walk-in clinics can treat about 20% of what walks into an emergency department, we can treat 70 to 80% of what walks into an emergency department. So it's a broad scope of care. We focus a lot on obviously changing the dynamic in healthcare to be truly consumer-centric. So we focus a lot on our patient experience. We want patients to, when they receive a service at Convenient MD, think of a visit to us just like if they were going to their favorite restaurant or hotel. We're trying to deliver a very high level of service from the minimized waiting times and a variety of other things. So patients are in the facility, which is important from your perspective, for under an hour, typically about 47 minutes, although they could be there for anywhere from a half hour to an hour and a half, or even 2 or 3 hours for more complicated visits. And then we focus a lot on affordability. We bill like a primary care office, so we're dramatically more cost effective than other options. In a world today where deductibles are getting higher and will be much higher over the next 5 or 10 years, that's really important for residents. And the right part of the slide just talks about our scope of care. The top of this slide really quickly just gives you the cost comparison. Simple ER visits, about $1,500 to $1,600. With high deductible plans, patients pay the whole visit. With many hospital-affiliated urgent cares, expensive labs and x-rays and things, you're looking at $500 to $600 typically. In a Convenient MD, or on average about $150, but real complicated visits might be as much as $300, like a dehydrated patient that might be there for 3 hours, or that might need IV fluids and IV antibiotics or other, lab work, etc. So that's basically us, and in terms of what we do. The other thing worth noting is we're extremely focused on community service. It's central to who we are, and I promise you all today that we will be your most active member of this community in terms of community service. We do a ton of free care for the community. We sponsor, our goal is to sponsor all the key organizations in town. Last year we participated in more than 325 community events. We always offer free flu shots to anybody, regardless as to whether or not they have insurance. Sports, a lot of free care through kids in need, a lot through the school through the school nurses. We sponsor a lot of things through them, provide a lot of support to the schools. So anyway, that's just a real quick summary on us. And in terms of hours, which are important from your perspective as well, we're open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day. Patients don't need an appointment, they can walk in any time. And I'll save, obviously I know you have questions later. I just wanted to give you a real quick overview in terms of what we do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Max. My name is Ken Caputo, Caputo Project Delivery Solutions, and I'm the project manager for Limits, leading the professional services team. With me tonight is Tracy Duart from Conoco Engineers. Tracy's a professional civil engineer. and also Mr. Tom Scott from Scott Griffin Architects. They're here to answer questions, technical questions as well. I'm going to take you through the overview of the application and the site plan. I want to point out that in preparing this, we visited the town of Falmouth, I think it was back in December of last year, when this concept of redevelopment of the property came to us through Limits, with a particular interest in potentially redeveloping this site for Convenient MD. And we visited with the town planner and staff on ideas, and we spent a lot of time. And one of the things that staff put us on to very appropriately, and it's right on their front webpage, is the reset study. That this town has spent a lot of time with the Cape Cod Commission, various stakeholders in understanding the Davis Strait corridor and redevelopment and opportunities and vision for the future. So through this presentation, I'm going to make some points regarding consistency with that. Spinning right off of Max's introduction of Convenient MD, I wanted to just start with some of the economic goals of the study and our consistency with that. One of the goals was add to the living wage employment options. Certainly healthcare, you'll see down below here, is one of the top sectors for wages and employment in Falmouth and across the Cape. Another goal is to provide services needed year-round by residents. I don't think you can get more year-round than 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, that Convenient MD offers. Right now in the area, it's mostly retail and services, and that study points out that in those sectors, wages for retail and food services are lowest across Falmouth and Cape-wide. In redevelopment to an urgent care facility, we propose to bring one of the leading employment sectors identified in that study, being healthcare. So I just wanted to point a couple of those quick things out. I hope I hit the right button. Nope. What did I do?
Yeah.
There it is.
Try the...
There we go.
There.
I get this. All right, so context, the surrounding area. We're here at the corner of Davis Straits and Dillingham Avenue. Existing gas service station, built, I believe, back in the 1960s, picture of what it is today. You've seen activity on the site. That is the removal and remediation of the underground storage tanks and pumps at the gas station. Limits is very serious about redeveloping this property and not redeveloping it as a gas station. You can see from this aerial image of Davis Straits at Dillingham, massive areas of pavement, very 1970 type development. Some of the newer developments catching on to the vision, including the Citizens Bank development across the street, across Dillingham from us. We see more open space and landscaping, but surrounding us is really just a lot of pavement, strip centers, setback from the roadway, parking in front. We propose, as part of this application to the town, to begin the transformation of at least this corner by redeveloping it with this professional use, reducing significantly, and I'll get into that, the amount of paving on the property, and trying to basically redevelop this corner in a way that's consistent with the goals of the studies that have been done here in Falmouth with Convenient MD. So getting right into it on the site plan, what you see here is a 5,100 square foot professional urgent care facility that Convenient MD's prototype, well recognized and known throughout the area that they have begun their businesses and are expanding into consistently with that. Down here on the side property line, below us, not on the plan, is the 99 restaurant. Across the street is the Davis is the gas station and the Falmouth Square shopping center. On our plan, and I don't know, is there a pointer on this?
Little button.
There we go. The existing condition along here, it doesn't show on our rendering here, but we have traditional old gas service station on the corner of an intersection with very wide curb cuts, 2 on Dillingham and 2 very large curb cuts on Davis Strait. As part of our plan, we propose to eliminate this curb cut on Dillingham closest to the intersection and this curb cut into the pumps that exist there today on Davis Strait and reduce it down to more manageable design curb cuts on both Davis Straits and Dillingham Avenue. By doing that and reducing all of that paving, what we propose to do is basically build a front yard on Dillingham Avenue and a front yard on Davis Straits. Complementing that front yard, we propose to rebuild the sidewalk across the entire frontage on both streets of the property. Now, I said rebuild. Rebuild really just applies to Dillingham Way up to this corner right here. There is no sidewalk today on Davis Straits in this stretch. There is sidewalk on Davis Straits on the other side. It just doesn't continue and go anywhere. So we are proposing new sidewalk construction along Davis Straits across the frontage of our property, connecting into the ramping area down here at the 99 restaurant. Also a pedestrian connection here from Davis Straits sidewalk right into the front entrance of our building. We're trying to make ourselves pedestrian accessible and pedestrian friendly, regardless of whether they're coming in here, but also try to achieve some of the goals of your Davis Straits study, both in terms of the land use and redevelopment study that the commission did, as well as your traffic studies. To support the 5,100 square foot facility, we have a 30 space parking lot. The required number of spaces for zoning is 21. However, Convenient MD's business model requires a minimum of 30 parking spaces to accommodate their patients that come in. We have parking on the side of the building and in the rear behind here. Now, this is an interesting point I want to bring out to all of you. The parking in the rear here is only made possible by pushing the building up to the street. We're proposing a building that has a setback of 15 feet from the Davis Straits right away. Your zoning requires 35 feet. We're doing that so that we can be consistent, again, with part of the visioning and planning goals and recommendations of that report. We worked with Brian very closely. Our first plan that we came to Brian with in December, very traditional, building on the back setback line, front field parking on Davis Straits. Brian basically told us that was a non-starter and would require special permits and would be very difficult in design review, and we understood that. We changed it to have all side field parking, which moved for circulation purposes to get 30 spaces because the building was back here at the back setback. It really reduced this green space significantly. And for a while there, we had our hands folded and said, I'm not sure what else we can do here. And then we realized that the way the current station is constructed, building and canopy, the canopy is well within the front setback. I believe it's less than 10 feet from the front setback. And talking with the building commissioner here in Falmouth, he confirmed that that's a pre-existing non-conforming use. And if we wanted to use that setback condition for special permit, that we could. So I just want to point out, we do have an application before the Zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit relative to building within the front setback and not maintaining, but setting it back slightly to 15 feet to bring the building forward. And again, I want to go to some of the goals of the study. In that study, it suggests that the town consider and recommends that they change front setbacks to bring buildings closer to the street. We're able to do that in this case, subject to special permit with the zoning board, because of our pre-existing non-conforming dimensional matter with the front building and the canopy on the existing gas service station. We view that as a real benefit and a real positive towards the vision for Davis Straits. It also recommends and suggests that you require parking to the side or the rear of the building. Again, our plans initially started with parking in the front, moved to parking all on the side, and when we realized with the pre-existing criteria that we could slide the building forward enough to get more parking in the rear, we were able to distribute that parking to both the side and the rear. That had a significant benefit in terms of landscape and open space opportunities, not only on Davis Strait, but it significantly increased the landscape front yard opportunities on Dillingham Avenue. The study also suggests that the town begin to establish regulations and rules for reducing visual clutter and consolidate curb cuts. As I pointed out before, there's barely any, it's almost wide open curb cuts on both frontages, and we're reducing it to 24 feet on each corner, one on Dillingham, one on Davis Straits. And then increased landscaping. Our open space today, the condition on the property is over 80% of it is lot impervious, building and pavement. Your regulations, the maximum lot coverage of building and pavement is 70%. So again, we're pre-existing non-conforming in that regard, but I'm happy to report to this board that this plan brings our lot coverage down to 60%. Significant reduction in pavement as a result of this proposal and redevelopment. I'm just going to go back real quickly because I do want to highlight some of the landscape improvements that we're proposing here. We have a total, there's one existing tree in the public right-of-way. It's it's almost dead and been de-limbed so much from the power company. But it is a public, technically because of its diameter at breast height, a public shade tree. We know we have to go to the tree warden for that. But we're proposing 7 new street trees along our frontage. Again, consistent with your rules, regulations, in addition to some internal street trees. We have a mix of pin oaks along Dillingham, and I have to read because I'm not a landscape architect, so I don't have all these memorized. My wife would be able to do this in a snapshot. Ivory silk, lilac down in this corner here. We have across the back with shrubs and different evergreen and deciduous shrubs, pear trees over here, and one October Glory, red maple in the corner. We have clusters of landscaping that provide various types of shrubs, ornamental grasses, and perennials. We really want to make this a very friendly, welcoming corner. It's important to our tenant that the site present very well, and we know it's equally important to the town that in an opportunity like this that we put our best foot forward in the landscaping design. In terms of utilities, grading, and stormwater, we're proposing to put the building slab at elevation 13. It's about 1 foot to 1.5 foot higher than the existing building slab. I'm building up the site a little bit. The grading on the property, and I know there's been a couple comments that we want to explore with the board in this regard. A lot of stormwater runoff right now goes off the back towards this zone AE. The zone AE is about elevation 10. The low point on our property is elevation 9. Our grading plan does not fill in any way any of those established flood zones. So we're not proposing to create any issue with storage, flood storage. We grade off of the building, the sidewalk in the front and here. Everything pitches pretty much away from the building. The high point here takes what goes off the back corner of the building, maintains that pre and post. The high point does direct some drainage off the driveway, and this parking lot drains across and out This area, as I pointed out, is a low point on the property today. That area will continue to trap water. There's an old basin in the parking lot that we propose to replace with a leaching basin to promote stormwater recharge in this area. What also doesn't exist on the property today is there is no groundwater recharge on the property at all. Pretty much anything that doesn't go to this hole that runs off this side, or out to the front, there's no groundwater recharge, not even from the existing gas station or the canopy. We propose a recharge system that will take the entire 5,100 square foot roof and put it into the ground, which is consistent with your stormwater regulation that says very specifically that any uncontaminated runoff, meaning roof runoff, from the property must be recharged, and that's what we're doing. Depths to groundwater here are about 7 feet. Our system is about 4 feet below grade bottom, so we have clearance to groundwater for the recharge. Again, that's a little bit of lifting the site up very slightly to help get that clearance over the groundwater levels. We have all of our utilities, with the exception of electric, are coming from Dillingham Ave. One of the things that happened in the middle of our design development process is the town completed the utility construction in Davis Straits and resurfaced Davis Straits. And we know from talking with engineering and the highway department that that establishes a moratorium on the pavement out there. Our current water service today comes from Davis Straits, but we will cut and cap that, and there's a water main in Dillingham that ends right about here. I forget the name of the lane, Marlin or Marie Lane. We'll extend that water main down to our property, and we'll bring into the property both a domestic and a fire service. This building will have a full sprinkler system, so we do need a fire service for the building systems. Our sanitary will come out, everything pretty much comes out this back side of the building. Our sanitary will come out and go out to the sewer system in Dillingham Ave. We understand from the comment letters that we will have to get both water and sewer connection permits with DPW. Our gas connection will be also from Dillingham and come over to the building here. So we've got a lot. We basically established a utility corridor off of Dillingham, not off of Route 28 Davis Straits. The only thing coming from Davis Straits in terms of utility service is the electric. Well, we will be working with the power company to establish a drop from the utility pole and go underground to the back side of the building. There is an electric generator back here near the dumpster area. I did fail to point out the dumpster area at the back of the building. It will be fully fenced in and enclosed and screened from view. So the electric comes in from the back side here. It will be dropped. The current power service to the existing building is overhead. All overhead lines on the property will be removed. So we won't have any overhead utility lines on the property. We'll still have overhead utility lines on Davis Straits and Dillingham, but I can't do anything about that. So that's basically our utilities that are proposed. Stormwater management, significant reduction in the amount of stormwater runoff from the property as a result of the recharge in this area and the roof recharge in this area. No net increase at all to existing systems or runoff from any of the design control points on the property. With that, I'm going to ask Tom to come up and give you a brief presentation on the building design itself.
Hi, my name is Tom Scott. I'm the architect, and the architecture is a reflection of the signature brand that Convenient MD wants to portray to the community. So it's a fairly simple building. It's a single-story building. It's the lowest roof height here is at 21.5 feet. Our maximum peak of the gable roof over the entry area is 34 Well, it's 34.6. We made it 6 inches lower, so we're slightly under the maximum required.
You know, I have a suggestion, just because we're moving into, I thought we've just finished, we got two processes here. I thought maybe it'd be good to talk about site plan first, see if there's any comments from the board, and then we go into the design review of the
okay,
building.
sure. Okay,
So
sure.
because
Yeah.
there's two different things going on at the same time here. So if you don't mind, I'd like
Not at all.
to finish up on the site plan.
Thank you for pointing that out. I want to make one final point. As I said in the beginning, we looked at the Davis Straits reset study. And in researching and reviewing that, I came across one quote in the vision plan that I just had to include in this presentation. It was about land use more than anything else. And this is an as-of-right use that we're proposing, so there's not much to discuss here. But I couldn't resist. Right in the study, limit locations for auto service stations, i.e. not allowed at intersections. I'm happy to be part of a proposal that proposes to eliminate a gas service station from Davis Straits.
Okay.
Questions on site plan?
I had one, in mentioning it, it wasn't clear. You said it was an AE zone. There's usually a number that goes through that. Is that an AE 13? What was the number? You're talking about somebody referenced it was an AE zone, but it didn't have a number with it.
Being an elevation?
An elevation. AE is the elevation. Yeah, there's an elevation number. We have all these AE zones, but they all have a number with it.
Yeah, it's elevation 10.
I checked that.
You mean at the street level, sir?
I'm talking the AE flood elevation. Please check that number. I don't think it's right.
Okay.
I know most of the maps are 12, 13, 14.
We'll check it for you.
We'll check it. I don't know of an AE 10. If it is, that's news to me, but go ahead, we'll take that.
Okay. I mean, that is a,
And
on the grading map.
and then the other question is all the runoff from this site contained on the site? You mentioned that the roof is, but from all the paving, is that also contained on the site?
Not 100%. This area here, at the driveway here, and then this driveway here, will run off. Actually, the way it's graded, most of this parking lot splits and goes to Davis Straits in Dillingham. It was our assumption and in review that we had to balance or reduce the post versus the pre-existing condition. And we saw the comment from the town engineer that raised the same question. And one of the things that we've thought about in an attempt to absolutely minimize runoff from this area is we have this leaching basin up here, and we have a curb line here. We can eliminate that curb line and put a 2-foot stone filter strip along there that will dissipate runoff from this entire parking lot and direct it into here. That basin will contain the 25-year storm event, which is your design storm event for stormwater management, and change this high point to, instead of directing the parking lot down here into a sag and down into here, we can change it so that it all runs off across here, shift this contour slightly and shift this contour slightly. So at that point, all of the site here will be contained here and in the roof. The only thing is we have a little bit of discharge from the back area here, which is an existing condition. Comment was eliminate or minimize drainage runoff to the streets. So we can do that pretty easily if that's the desire of the board. That way, only our driveway throats will run off to the streets.
I thought it was a requirement that everything had to be contained on site.
Yeah, we have the engineer's referral. We'll go over it with the design team. We'll make sure it's something that can comport with the board's thinking.
Okay.
And pass approvals.
All right, I'm done. Any more questions? John?
Thank you. On your parking behind the building that you were discussing, I see it's all angled in
do they have enough room to back up and drive out, or are they going to have to back all the way out to the
No.
parking area?
We moved the building up far enough so that we have, I believe this is 17, almost 18 feet.
Yeah, and that's at the dumpster. The last parking space,
Yep.
you have 18 feet, which is enough room to back up.
Back up and
then
turn
it
around
gets-
and drive
yes,
out?
And then it only gets wider from there. That's it.
And part of the program is that, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Max, these 6 spaces are going to be designated staff spaces.
Okay, secondly, you discussed hours of operation. Is that 7 days a week?
It is.
Okay. And could you tell us a little bit about your lighting scheme for the parking
Lighting
lot?
is just around the building. We did not propose any lighting out here in the parking lot. It will be lit from the building, what we get from illumination from there. That's how we had planned to do it. So a backlight here, a couple of front lights out here, all off the building.
Okay, and you discussed being pedestrian friendly. Do you have any area designed for a bicycle rack?
You know, I'm glad you asked the question. It's not in the submittal. However, I was speaking with Max and David from CMD, and we know that we need to supplement some type of bicycle accommodation in the form of bicycle rack, as well as, and we'll bring this into a updated landscape plan, a little bit of outdoor seating, benches, so people that don't want to wait in the lobby, maybe want to, on a day like this, sit outside while they're waiting for something, that they can have some seating outside the building.
Okay, thank you.
If you can ride a bike there, how bad can you be?
Just having a heart attack.
Did I understand you to say that you're not planning any lighting in the parking lot, even though you'll be open after dark?
Can you start again? I didn't hear you.
I'm not sure I understood you. Did you say you're not planning any lighting in the parking area?
There's none proposed right now. If we had to do some small
Excuse me, you got to go back there, because all the people at home hear the microphone, and just people in the room hear you there. That's why we have you stand there.
There is no parking lot lighting right now. The lighting would come from the building. We've done this before, although if it's the desire of the board to include some small scale lighting out here, and maybe, I don't know that maybe right here, this light will take care of this area of parking, and the building will certainly take care of this.
Is all the lighting designed to stay on the site and not to overflow into any of the neighbors? That's the more important aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, we noted that, and we understand from design, and we always do this today with the dark sky compliant and not to flood our neighbors. We do see in a lot of parking lots, box lights up on utility poles, but we're not proposing anything.
So you think you can light that parking lot adequately without flooding off the site?
Yeah.
We've had the McMahon traffic study, and the intersection of Dillingham and Davis Strait was one of their intersections of concern. And I was just wondering, with that curb cut so close to that, have you looked at that report and seen anything with what they are looking at and what the town is looking at for that intersection, and how that would interact with that curb cut there?
Yeah, we did, and we noted that this is a potential location in the future for a traffic signal system, as they recommended. The existing curb cut, I wish it showed up better here, comes in right about here. So we have shifted the curb cut down as much as we can to align with the side field parking. We did look at kind of a reverse orientation, but I'll be honest with you, that puts our parking lot right next to the 99 parking lot, and we just thought from a design of the landscaping and what your vision plans were pointing at, that this was our best side. It's our best side in terms of how the building lays out, for sure, in terms of being able to see Convenient MD as you're approaching. It gave us the greatest amount of landscape opportunity, but we do have to keep this, we're fairly confined. We've got a 30,000 square foot lot. So we did push it away as much as we can. And we also are proposing a right turn out restriction. What's vitally critical to Convenient MD is that their patients there's no restrictions in terms of entering the property. When the people are coming here, they're coming because they're in need of help. And we don't want them to have to figure out how to get into the parking lot from any direction. But we are willing and have proposed, knowing that this might become a traffic light with a stop condition, to make this a right turn out only.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Pat?
I like what I'm seeing here with the landscaping. I do have a request, however. Because you've got a number of cars and your operating hours till 8 o'clock, pointing out towards Dillingham Avenue, I would like to request that along that parking, you put a privet hedge to screen the headlights at night that would be shining out. That's a heavily trafficked corner, as you know.
Yeah.
So I would like to see that done, to screen the headlights at night.
I think we can do something and complement the idea of opening the curb line for runoff, and some landscaping border with the, just instead of mulch, we use a pea stone bed to promote the infiltration before it runs to the basin, and we can get that shrub line along that edge, just as you've suggested.
Thank you.
Paul?
Yeah, I have a couple of comments, if I may. This is the site plan review portion, it's not the design review. And there's a lot of things that you've done and taken advantage of the work that's done before, both the Cape Cod Commission report and local comprehensive plan, and I think that's very commendable. The setbacks, and this is an important intersection, and I think you've tried to lay it out very nicely. There's a lot of things I like about it. The setback is a good one. I would like to see, as mentioned previously, that the stormwater stay on site. I think that's an important element. And I think the traffic flow, I think it's a good one, except that lower corner there. But if that's a employee or resident area, I guess they can handle that. That's not for the public so much. So I think there's a lot of good things in this layout.
Thank you. We had a lot of help from staff. Give us, steer us in the right direction.
Never praise the day till the dawn.
Pam?
So you mentioned the dumpster. Where will you have a facility for your biomed waste, your hazard waste?
Ask these experts to come up.
That stays inside, so we have a special room that's stored inside the facility. And when that is picked up, the gentleman, the company, there's a different company that comes just for that. And they'll come inside the facility through the main door, check in with the reception, be brought to the room where that's stored. We call it the red bag room, toward the back of the facility, and take it out directly from there. So it has a special place inside the facility.
And are you at all concerned about security?
We're always concerned about security. We've been very fortunate that first of all, we don't keep narcotics on site specifically for security. There's a serious, obviously, epidemic going on in terms of inappropriate drug use. So of course we have a security system. We've only been broken into once of our 9 facilities over the last 5 years. The best security system is lighting, frankly. And so that's always a question for you all, but having lighting around the perimeter of the building is the best security system.
I think that's why everyone was talking about the lighting that would, make sure that the parking lot was...
We would like to see the lighting on a plan.
And the lighting that's important for security also is, if you don't mind pointing, is, let's see, hold on right here, is right around the perimeter. And so in our, we can show that to you certainly in a plan, but those are down lights so that if anyone's walking toward a window, they're going to be standing under the light. It's lit around the perimeter of the building. And so that, for me, from a security perspective, that's the key.
And I just want to get back to your setback for a second. Is that 15 feet from the actual building to Davis Straits Road?
You'll see this in design review discussion. There's an overhang. It's 15 feet to the overhang. And it's 15 feet, because we're not exactly parallel to the street.
Right, I see.
It's 15 feet at this closest corner perpendicular to Davis Straits. The study, the reset study recommended amending your dimensional requirements on Davis Street to bring building boards 10 to 20 feet. So we picked the middle. And then on the sides, it's just over 20 feet. The side and rear setbacks are 20. We're just over 20 feet on this layout here, and we're almost 40 feet on the back one.
Okay, thank you.
Any more comments on the site plan review?
Not me.
No.
I have just one question, really. What was your thinking about the trees near the street coming down Davis Straits? You've got the trees at a certain interval going along Dillingham, but don't seem to continue the interval. What happened?
There's a little bit of maintaining some visuality to the building. It's very important that we have to be able to see the building on our approaches. So we did want to create sight lines to this accent piece in the building that you guys are going to talk about shortly. In lieu of taller street trees, there's an existing street tree there today that's going to remain. This existing street tree up on the corner is proposed to remain, as well as this one. So what we did was, keeping that tree and this tree, we went for a lower landscaping design in our front yard. Still break up the view, at least at the eye level and ground level, complement the front yard, and really complement the area around the foundation.
Well, just a comment, I think once you make the adjustments for the lighting and the drainage that we've talked about, you've really done this is a really good look at a site plan fitting into our vision that we're just beginning to work on. But I'm glad you saw it. And any more?
No, I'd just like to underscore the lighting. I think we're all familiar with buildings that have perimeter lighting and no lighting away from it. And at night, which it will be half the year for people who are there in the last 3 hours of operation, that's kind of blinding. So unless you put some lights further out right along there,
Out here.
yeah, it's going to be hard.
Yeah. We can take a look at that.
Get the right lumens on you got a measurement device, you guys should be able to tell if it works
yeah.
or it doesn't. It's all math.
Yeah, well, it's such a small, it looks big, but again, this is like, on your plan sheets, I think it's a 10 scale drawing, which you're probably not used to, so it looks like a big area. It's really not a very large area. But we'll take a look at that and see if we can't bring something that maybe isn't traditional parking lot lighting, but does the job and fits the landscape.
Just get some lights
Complements our
on that
landscape
ground.
well. Yep.
Okay, we're going to take this under consideration. We'll go, actually keep it open, they're going to make changes, we'll see this again.
Right, we'll meet with the designers and go over all the comments of the board. We'll probably see this again.
So, all good comments on the site plan, pretty much.
Yeah.
We're getting to design review now?
We're getting into design review. Okay, sorry to interrupt you before now.
So again, my name is Tom Scott. I'm the architect. And, oh, yeah, which one advances? There we go. So as I was starting to say, the architecture is really a reflection of the signature branding of Convenient MD. And you can see the architectural element here is really a signature element meant to be a real eye catcher for people driving by, so that there's good visibility and understanding that this is the convenient MD building. The building itself, the lower height here is about 21.6, but that incorporates about a 3-foot parapet that grows to about 5 feet at some points and conceals all the equipment on the roof. So you won't see any of the rooftop equipment, as well as this element conceals some of that equipment as well. The major architectural feature here has a hip roof over the top of it with the colonial red standing seam roof. And all of the awnings are coordinated to match that roof. So all of these awnings have the same material as the roof. The awnings and the entrance area here and here are undercover. So there's about, I think it's an 8-foot setback to the actual entry door. So when you come out the door, you can actually stand under cover if it's raining and you're waiting for a ride or something. So there's a little bit of architectural cover in these two areas right here. As well, all of these awnings extend out a bit as well. And all of these awnings around the entire perimeter of the building have recessed lighting in them. So that was what Max was saying, is that security is a big issue with them, and they like to have the building well lit around its entire perimeter, and that's how we accomplish that. The lighting is hidden in all of these awning elements around the perimeter of the building. So the main entrance, there's two main entrances on these two flanking sides here and here. And there are windows into the exam spaces, the awnings. We have pilasters that flank the major entry portion of the building. Those pilasters are clad with a cultural stone. That's a dry stack stone it's coordinated with all the colors of the rest of the building. The background elements here and here and here around the entire perimeter of the building are hard clapboard material. So it'll be a hardy clapboard material, so it'll be have a wood appearance. And the cultural stone as well wraps around the full perimeter of the building. The interesting thing to note here is we designed finished sides on all 4 sides of the building, because this building really stands alone and is visible from a lot of different angles. So the building is really treated, very unusual to have a building that's treated on all 4 sides and be finished looking on all 4 sides. So that's the intent of the architecture. That's pretty much it, other than we have a significant amount of glass at the entry area here and here. So there's a lot of good visibility into the space. You'll be able to see the reception area and see some activity in the building. That's pretty much it, and we'll open up to questions.
Charlotte, you want to start off? Any questions?
I wonder if you considered any alternative materials.
Well, we actually went to the clapboard because of the nature of the area. A lot of the buildings in the area have clapboard and shingle. So that typically is a different, it's like an ethos material in other projects, but in this area we went to the clapboard. So there's a significant amount of clapboard on the building. It's all the yellow that you see on the building. It's all clapboard. So we went right to that as a material that was consistent with the area.
It would be painted?
It would be painted, yes.
I'm sorry, I usually let everyone else speak first, but I got to ask you, did you review the CVS decision we had?
I've seen the CVS project down the road, and I did not review the decision, no.
Okay. Sorry, I had to ask that question. John, you have anything?
No, thank you.
Yeah?
So somebody pulls up in front and they can't access the building. They need a wheelchair or something, real emergency, a mini emergency center. How do people access if they've been driven?
You have to go back to site plan.
Right, I didn't see anything.
So there's handicap
Parking.
spaces here.
Okay.
So it's set up so there's a unloading zone kind of in the middle of the two spaces, then there's a handicap curb cut here. So if you were in a chair, a wheelchair, you can come up and roll right into the building there.
And how many handicap, 2?
There's 2.
Okay.
Bob?
I guess we go back to the elevations. I know you're trying to present a corporate image. I coined a term for that I call logo architecture, and it really doesn't fly.
Logo architecture. Okay.
It really doesn't fly here. This design is just about every CVS and every Rite Aid that you come across. This big corner with either a gable or a hipped roof, and then the rest of the building coming off of it. I don't like the materials. I don't like the design. I don't think it sits well or is going to be suited to the town of Falmouth. If you look at the other buildings along that stretch a little further up, they're mostly small residential types of businesses and houses. I just don't like the look of this building. I don't think it's going to be an asset to the town. The site plan is great, but this building just doesn't suit that location or this town.
Okay, I guess I hear what you're saying. I'm not sure I understand. Like, you're looking for some type of cookie cutter architecture? Is that what you're?
No, that's what this is.
Well, it's very different than elements that you have in the neighborhood. So, you know, it has a hip roof. It has all the clapboard materials. It is a commercial structure. It's not a residence.
Right.
It's not something that we're trying to portray as a residence. I
No.
think that can be false and fake.
No, I'm not saying that.
So it is what it is. I think it's a medical facility that really needs recognition, and I would defer to Max to kind of come to the defense here. You know, it needs that visual recognition. So
Go ahead, Pat. I got to talk to them. I'll let you go first.
Sorry, folks, but to me, that looks like a billboard. Two-sided billboard. You've got huge convenient MD urgent care on it. You've got what does not look to me like clapboard that it's on. It's yellow, red, blue, it's in your face, it's a billboard. That does not fit the town of Falmouth. You've done a fabulous job with your landscaping. This is a cornerstone here to what we are trying to achieve in this whole area. I would like to see you come back with something that can make not only you proud, but us as a town proud to have you here. And I really would like to see you come back with something a whole lot better than that, than you've done right now. You've got multiple. Jim brings out the CVS building. We really dug our heels in on that one and got a very nice building for the town of
yeah, it's a
Falmouth.
very nice building.
You only have to look if you're dealing with the stones that you have here and the clapboard. You only have to look just down the street at the New Eastern Bank building. They use the same thing. It's not in your face. This is in your face, and we're not in a city with billboards.
One way to put it is, in Falmouth, we want people that drive down here saying, we are in Falmouth, this is Cape Cod. We don't want them to see the same buildings that they see, this logo architecture that you do in other areas of the country, and you see the same damn buildings 50 times. We want you to design a building that fits in our town, not us except your building. Find one that does what you want but fits into our town. And we have a vision for that, and we'd like you to try again.
I'm going to say the same thing I said when I was on a prior board in another town, which is...
It's okay.
No, I will not say the town. And quite honestly, I don't care about your logo, and I don't care about branding. And it was the same thing when we had a TD Bank came in, parking in the front, and everything that the town did not want. And this, to me, I think your plan is fabulous. But I think the coloring book of your plan is terrible. I mean, it just, everything inside is fine. But I absolutely agree. Falmouth has a personality that I would like to see this blend into. I see all of your places, it looks like, are in New Hampshire. So maybe you've branded this when you first came in and then you piggybacked on it. You have an opportunity to be the first of this type of an urgent care facility, not that there isn't another walk-in clinic, but of this type. And I would think if it goes here, then maybe you build on the Cape. But I will guarantee you the majority of towns on the Cape are going to say, we want it to look like Cape Cod, not New Hampshire, not Boston, not even my other town. We want it to look like Falmouth. And whether you just use clapboard,
And there's a variety of materials. There's
Understood.
a bank,
Understood. No,
brick-
I-
Windows,
two-
roof lines,
two
trim.
banks,
I
and-
get it.
Windows, there's all
I've been
kinds of
doing this
details
for a
you can
long
do.
time. I've been trashed before.
oh no, we're not trashing it
I
at all.
understand, no, but I exactly understand where you're coming from, and we'll come prepared to show something different.
Okay.
Yeah, as you drive around the town, just sort of look at the
I've
other
looked-
commercial.
Honestly, I came down, I drove around the town, I did look at the architecture in the area, so I understand what you're saying and where you're coming from.
We're going to jump all the way to Charlotte and come back down, Pat, sorry.
We mentioned the color, the materials. I'd like to also get in there, so it'll be part of your thinking as you're rethinking something to bring back. The silhouette of the building, one's part of the silhouette, okay, the hip roof part, didn't like the height, there are certain things about the proportions, but at least it's a hip roof. The flat roof part, definitely not Falmouth. I mean, so as you look around, be aware of the silhouettes and the roof lines. I'm sure that you are, but I think many of us here are focused on that also, not just the materials and color.
Okay,
Absolutely.
understood.
Windows, roof lines, detail, that's all. Paul, you're next.
Yeah, just a couple of comments. As much as I like the site plan, I too am uncomfortable with the architecture here. And I just want to mention one thing. About a year ago, we had a similar issue with CVS, where they came with a standard corporate big signs and everything. And it was pretty acrimonious. It went on for some time. But we agreed, they made changes, we adjusted both in landscape, architecture, and some other things. And it worked out very well. I think it's a credit to it. And what happened after that is CVS came for another project in East Falmouth, different developer. They used the same design. That was approved in one night. So working together, I think we can come up with something that we're more comfortable with, and perhaps you can live with as well.
But, Paul, I think they actually took us to court and lost twice, and eventually came to work with us. So I'm going to put that as that's why I asked you if you were familiar with that.
Yeah, I didn't read the case.
Jim, there's one more
Sorry.
thing I'd like to say.
Yes, go ahead.
As much for us as it is for you, how delightful it is to hear the study being quoted and
Yes.
paid
Yeah,
attention
it's
to,
fabulous.
and actually having it result in that wonderful site plan, and to see that it really made an enormous difference to you as you were working on it, and that you realize that this is the first building that will be in the reset area, so that it will be a thing in itself on the most prominent corner in the reset area, but it will also be the first. So it's particularly important to the town. So it was great that you paid that amount of attention. Thank you.
Anyone else all set?
I just want to
Okay.
say one quick thing. My son-in-law is in a practice like that in Philadelphia. And he told me they went through exactly what we're going through with this. They came in, and part of the city it's in wanted it to fit in to the old Philadelphia look. And they fought them, they went back and forth to court, they lost, they had to find a different location. And he said, it would have been so simple, just make it look like old Philadelphia. And they wound up having another site that is beautiful, not conspicuous, because I don't know how conspicuous you want to be for an urgent care center. You want to be recognized. But on this corner, you can't help but be recognized. So I know you're going to come back with something terrific. I do.
I know I am too.
Okay.
I think we got
Got
the
enough-
point across,
enough
and
feedback from
we'll
that?
probably...
Can I say something?
Can I just...
Yes, you,
Discuss this more at a future date, but just, it is, as you noted, your son works in a similar set of facilities, so afterward, I'm curious to know which one. All of our patients are coming to us under being injured, sick, under distress, and sometimes very seriously. And so it is, and many of them, even though I recognize this is a very busy intersection, that's why we'd like to be here, because so people know it's here. But patients often aren't going to recognize us when they don't need us. They're only going to be recognizing us when they do need us. Even though this is an obvious place, we've been through this time and time again. We're always on the busiest intersection of every community we're in. And when patients are under distress, they're not at their best. And so we need to be very obvious for those folks when they're looking for us and when they're under distress, so that it's extremely easy for them to identify the building. So we can, and again, we're going to work very hard to take all of your comments into consideration and come back with a plan that you like better. I just wanted you to have that in mind. Thank you.
So we will work with the design team. We'll probably see us again October 17th, soon enough.
We can move faster if you want us to.
Well, you'll not be ready for the 3rd. We're not meeting the 10th.
I would like to sum up that we would like to
So I'm thinking the 17th, board.
work with you in the context of our limited site plan and design
Right. Well, the
review.
your 3rd agenda is full.
Yeah.
You're not meeting the 10th. So the next available agenda is the 17th. So let's work towards the 17th.
Yeah, is there a meeting on the 3rd, the 10th, and the 17th?
Okay?
Not the 10th, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, all set?
Yes, I was
Okay.
just
Thank you.
wondering about, it can come up next time, I'll bring it up to you later. Okay.
Okay,
I'm
thank you.
sorry, we're stuck on,
Was there a question yet?
no,
We'll
just,
vote to know all.
we'll wait to see how we get, see what comes. I want to see what you bring back next time. And then if we need further discussion at the point, we'll have it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So with the 17th, we have to have materials in the week before?
We-
One week before?
Give me a call in the morning, we'll discuss the details. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, boy. That was fun.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
I think so. too.
I think so.
But this is not
Let's
it.
keep going. Planning board discussion, local comprehensive plan, transportation element vote.
Okay.
Pat, you're up.
Yeah, now I gotta find it. It's in your package
It's
here,
right here,
folks.
if you need it.
No, I just wanted to get it in the package.
Okay.
Because what you got here was what was handed out when we had our joint meeting for the planning board comments. There's been one addition, and that's under the 3rd bullet point. Patty Johnson suggested that we also work on the Commonwealth Safe Routes to Schools initiative. It seemed like a wise thing to do.
Say that again, I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Patty Johnson, at our last meeting of the LCP, suggested that we add in, under the 3rd bullet point, collaborate to develop multiple proposals to better manage Falmouth's transportation network, including the parking management plan, as well as the Commonwealth Safe Routes to Schools initiative. So what we want you to do is to take a look at this, see if this is in its final. You don't have any other comments, and then we will vote it tonight, and then it will replace the action items under the transportation element.
Does this have to go then before town meeting, Pam?
No.
No, it's only the goals and policies that go before town meeting.
It's only the one change, right? We've seen this
You've seen it.
Many
if
times.
If you read it,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, many
But-
times.
But this was, well, no, this was after we met, the LCP met with Ray Jack.
Okay.
And so these are the changes that came about in talking with Ray Jack. Certain things have been completed.
Oh, I see, dropped off in that.
Yeah, so you'll see there are cross-outs, there's italicized comments.
I think the only thing I would suggest, I think this is good, I think we've talked about it, we've seen it enough. We've had a recent discussion on the traffic issues within Falmouth, and particularly the truck deliveries. And as a, excuse me, as a town meeting member, Precinct 2, I actually wrote a brief immediate position paper on the truck traffic, giving photos and things of that sort for consideration, because I know that DPW and the town manager's office have been talking about doing something like this. And it may be, if you look at the McMahon report, they do address this issue, but it's on page 72 of a 74-page report, so they really don't pay a lot of attention to it. But I think the wayfinding is an important element that perhaps should be mentioned in here. And that is these trucks and things look up a way to get here, and it sends them down 28 all the time, rather than using some of the main streets we come into. This summer, there was at least a 50-foot cigarette boat on a huge trailer trying to get through Main Street, and there was no other way to get through there. Aside from the fact that truck deliveries are oftentimes taking both lines of traffic when there is room behind many of the restaurants to offload. So there's some issues in there. But I think at least the wayfinding issue is an important one that probably should be mentioned.
So,
I understand some of the Walmart trucks are now going through residential areas in Trotting Park to avoid some of the traffic. That's not a good thing either, but that's an implementation thing, not the policy things we're talking about here. We'll be getting into too much detail. But if we're going to be talking about things like the school bus traffic, I think we should be mentioning wayfinding as an important element to correct that, to get the best way of of getting people in and out of Falmouth, and particularly the truck traffic.
Well, that was particularly noted under the McMahon study, though, too, is the wayfinding. It's
They mention
terrible.
at the end, yeah, but they don't give.
So you're saying call it out, even though we've got,
so another action item that we
The
either,
McMahon report has a lot of very good things, particularly on infrastructure development and doing things. But I thought they didn't pay much attention to the wayfinding aspect of it, because it came up right at the end.
I heard what you said, yeah.
At the public hearing, I actually brought this up, and I think that's perhaps why they added it, but it was not given a lot of emphasis, and I think we should at least refer to it.
Brian, you had something down?
So what you may want to do is just on your next bullet point, where it says collaborate to develop multiple proposals to better manage the transportation network, including, insert the word wayfinding, comma, a parking management plan, as well as, so you call it out.
yeah.
Yep, that's
So,
fine.
so right in that. Okay.
But I wanted to comment on something that's happening, and Paul kind of mentioned on it, it's somewhat beyond our control. That many of these truck drivers now are coming on a computer telling them where to go, and when the street gets backed up, they're giving them shortcuts to take through our neighborhoods, and so the wayfinding issue is being, taken over by Google Maps. And so it's like, maybe we could reach out to them and help it, but that's a complicated issue.
But I should mention, some truck drivers do pay attention to it. I've seen some of them
Yeah.
going behind the streets, like serving Liam McGuire, a big liquor truck was there, and they were off on the south side of the street where there's room to unload. Some others, for example, Pickle Jar, there was a truck driver there who had to meander through that parking lot, backed all the way up to it to get off the street. So some of the truck drivers who routinely come here know what they have to do, and I think it's the people who
Yeah, we might as well.
don't come that often, but you see some major trucks, even from delivery of products for the construction coming down Main Street. There's no reason for that.
I think it's, Mr. Chairman, I think it's somewhat incumbent upon the owners of those restaurants and businesses to inform their delivery people that clogging up the streets. This is specifically and primarily during either holiday seasons or the summer, that blocking the street and taking up 5 or 6 parking places. I was there, nobody could get out of their cars because these guys were going back and forth and they wouldn't move the truck until they were offloaded. And so I really think the businesses have to take responsibility, not that they can take total responsibility for the behavior of their drivers, of the delivery drivers, but at least they can make a point that this is really critical for the safety of the pedestrians and the safety of the other drivers, as well as, you know, just being able to articulate, this is not okay. And if you can go behind the back, I know it's not convenient, and that's a big thing, because they're always on a time, they have a time constraint. But I saw so many near misses this summer that were horrifying to me. From a child on a bike and a truck backing up with the mother screaming. I mean, it's frightening sometimes. So I think the businesses have to be a little bit more responsible.
I think you're right, and I think it depends on the Chamber of Commerce and the business community and so forth. However, that's the mechanism for doing it. This is a policy paper. And I think we have to be at a little higher level at this point to talk about the policy paper. And I think wayfinding is something that we can do. The actual implementation is something the town is doing or planning to do right now, and they're working on it.
Good point. Then maybe that has to be part of our policy.
I think I'd be careful, we're talking about policy here,
Right.
the implementation.
All right.
So I move that we make the change to that bullet point that, with Brian's words that he put in.
Just insert the word wayfinding
Yeah, it's
after the word
including
include.
wayfinding,
just
a parking
including that.
management plan.
So I've moved that.
Second.
All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay.
Brian, I'll get these changes to
Now-
Melinda.
Okay.
Davis Straits Multifamily Housing.
Yes.
So
Who wants
in
to
your
start off with
package, you should have an air photo of that area between Spring Bars Road, Worcester Court, and Davis Straits. And a little, you'll see there's some parcels outlined in red. And those parcels are all zoned Business 2 today. It's the same business zoning you'll see up and down Davis Straits and T-Ticket Highway. And you'll also have this little handout that says FAR stats. Those are your floor area ratios. Now, your floor area ratio is simply, you look across, it's your gross building area divided by the square feet of your lot. Gives you an FAR of 0.33, that's your top line. Gross floor area means your basements, your uninhabitable space, or your eaves and whatnot. And then your finished area, is that area is actually habitable and finished. This gives you another floor area ratio of 0.18. So that's what 63 Davis Straits is.
Brian, that's like, not really, but it's equivalent to lot coverage.
Not really, because lot coverage, you could have a 20% lot coverage.
Right, but it's
But floor area
three-dimensional.
ratio gives you a better indicator of intensity.
Density, right.
Right. Whereas lot coverage, 20% times 3.
No, but when you're looking at a 20% FAR, that's only,
It's probably a single-story building.
yeah.
Right. You'll see, just for example, your largest FAR is down there at 200 Worcester Court. And you'll see that the gross floor area ratio is 0.77.
Yeah.
And 200 Worcester Court is that building right there.
So
In the middle.
Middle of your photo.
this is a homework assignment, right, Brian?
So this is sort of a homework assignment
Yep.
to just go out and take a look at these buildings and take a look at these floor area ratios to give you an idea of what we're going to be talking about when we get into developing a multifamily zone here. Because most of this, oh, and the other thing is, you'll also see some numbers on these air photos, 013 or 310 or 111. Those are Department of Revenue codes for the land use that's there. So 01 is residential, and 3 is commercial. So that means if you have a land use code of 013, you're primarily residential with some commercial. You might have a barber shop on the first floor and apartments above. If it's 310, it's mostly commercial. You might have an insurance agency on the first floor and one apartment above. But you'll note most of the land uses in this area are mixed use, either commercial, residential, commercial, or multifamily. The land use code 111 there on Davis Straits is an apartment building between 4 and 8 units.
If it starts with the number 1.
1 is residential.
Or 01.
Or 01, right.
So that's all residential.
So it will give you an idea, A, what's out there. It's a total acreage of about 7.16 acres. It's a very small pilot area that you can take a good close look at and then develop your multifamily zoning district as a model. I also want you to start thinking about, as a homework assignment, what you may want to consider this area as a receiving district. So just let's say, for example, I passed out that transfer of development right bylaw a while ago, so I'm trying to knit this all together a little bit. This will take some time. But just get the thought process going that here's an area that's on the sewer, here's an area close to with transportation, walk to school, walk to commercial activities. Is this a very suitable receiving area? And what would you be thinking about in terms of floor area ratios as some sort of incentive zone? So if my largest or my greatest floor area ratio out there is 0.77, well, let's just say for the sake of argument, we would allow you to transfer development rights from a velocity zone, flood hazard zone, to this area, and your floor area ratio could go up to 1. That means if you have a 10,000 square foot lot, you get 10,000 square feet of finished floor area, either gross or finished. Instead of 35 feet, 2.5 stories, maybe it's 35 feet, 3 stories, 3 full stories. So you give an incentive to someone to say, oh, well, I have this piece of property here. I might be able to really utilize all the incentives here for my profit center. So the first things first, familiarize yourselves with this floor area ratio. It is defined in the zoning bylaw. It's only used in one place. It's used in your business 1 zoning district. But we're going to be using it more and more. It's not lot coverage. It's a measure of land use intensity. And we'll go from there. And we'll probably pick this up again as soon as all your regulatory work subsides. But we'll be knitting together your TDR in this district over the next couple of weeks.
Can I ask you a question? This, what looks like a right-of-way, it looks like a partial street between Worcester Court and Davis Straits.
I should have put a slide up. So I'm going to steal this one. No, I won't. I'll just come down. That's okay.
That's Rose Road.
So this is Rose Street.
It's Rose Street.
This is an actual street that goes right through. It's only partially developed.
Rose Street?
This right here?
Did you see that? That's Rose Street. And it's only partially developed. It's an actual street. Rose Street. And that's just someone's driveway. It's actually owned by some people.
You can drive on it. Brian sent me over to look at this the other day when I dropped by his office to look at the agenda items. So I went and I drove. Right across from Cappy's on this is the entrance to it, and it looks as if you're driving into somebody's driveway because of the lay of the land. The topography drops off. It's low in the middle there, but it turns out no. You can drive right through, and the house on the end has a picture window. And in the picture window is a very burly fellow looking very much at me, thinking, ooh, what on earth is she doing on my street? They don't see a lot of traffic there, but there's quite a bit of land back there, and it allows you to see this building that I was particularly sent to take a look at, that was pointed out. It's the middle building, because that .77, that's multifamily housing right there. That's an apartment building, and it's not a bad-looking one either.
So there's
So
some examples.
it's an example to see how this could work out. And I think this exercise, Brian, correctly if I'm wrong, this is to start teaching us a new language that's going to go with form-based zoning. Right.
Right, I want you to start getting away from lot coverage and start thinking floor areas, and then form-based. And because we don't really care about the use as much as the square footage. And we care about what it looks like.
The shape and size of the building.
Shape and size.
is what we're concerned about.
Right. And the uses, you could
On the
have, whatever you can do with your 10,000 square feet.
But here's some, I don't know if you intended me to learn this lesson or not, but it looked as if around this, model building here, that was the multifamily building, that they had good setbacks, a good amount of land on every side, the amount of parking that they needed. So that's not a change element. The change element for us here really is the language. And so here I have a question for you. This is not an easy or intuitive language.
No, it's not. That's why we're
Right.
sort of taking some baby steps.
Right, so I wonder, we might be able to learn it, but, because we'll put the effort into it, but how easy is it going to be to communicate to the people who need to approve of this change? And,
It will be an educational experience. Like I said, this will take several town meetings. You may want to give reports to town meeting members under Article 1 or 2, whatever it might be, that's coming down the tracks. I think the presentations like you had at Herman, in the Herman room, once they have, like you say, once they have something that's actually definitive, you'll get more of a reaction when we say we're going to change. When you say you're going to change zoning, people come out. So in this instance, that will be your educational mission before you even get into the regulatory world or town meeting, is to bring this out to the public to educate them.
I wonder if there's some way.
But first,
they-
you have to educate yourselves.
Yes.
If it already exists or needs to be invented, to turn these into pictures.
That's a great idea. That's a perfect way to be illustrative. This is what a .77 FAR looks like.
Right, because there's one right there.
There's one right there.
Right, so we have one picture, but we all have to go look at it, not be practical. So we would need, like, pictures.
We can do that, yes.
Yeah, that would help.
That would be helpful, especially because once you get to your educational component mission, you're not going to tell folks, well, take this map and go out and take a look at Rose Street.
These
You'll want to
pictures
have that
could go in the
presentation.
PowerPoint presentation at the end.
PowerPoint.
They'd be very, I think we should get a lot of them, pick out the best, and this will be how
And it will
we,
go with them.
how we
And
educate people.
The picture and the silhouettes of the building.
Right.
They're going to be the part that's very easy to communicate.
Absolutely.
Whereas this, rather than coming first, might come second, because this is the tough end.
That's fine. We always want to start slow and easy. The somewhat more easier concepts to understand. We have a computer program. We have the software, the Community Viz. You can really walk through the buildings and look through the skylights, the whole bit. We'll have that technology, and we'll probably reach out to our friends at the commission again to enhance that technology, because
Maybe have a presentation.
for presentation purposes.
I'll see it, yeah.
But once we start divining, language of this new bylaw, you're not going to see some of the old terms. You're going to see these terms. And the planning board just needs to become familiarized with it. Do your Wikipedia. Google is a beautiful thing. And don't reinvent the wheel. Lots of folks have this as an intensity measure, but not that many. And so-
But even that, because when Jim went to repeat what he thought you said, he didn't say intensity, he said density. But that's not the word.
It's intensity.
Intensity.
Intensity, right. So it's a somewhat new vocabulary. But, you'll get the hang of it. It's not that hard.
I'm familiar with it. I used to manage a 1 million square foot building that was on an acre. we had these kind of discussions all the time.
In these terms?
Yes. Actually, they were the zoning, that's how it was written. You had to build to these zones, everyone had to know them. In a city, this is the way,
Well, yeah, once you get to urbanized densities,
Yeah.
nobody uses lot coverage.
lot coverage, it doesn't matter
Right,
anymore.
Urbanized
Just switch to this
densities
language, yeah.
are intense.
I'm glad we have lot coverage, it's important.
But it's new here.
It is new here.
It's new here. So you might just say, that you can only cover, whatever that coverage is, let's say 40%, 20% by buildings, but you can intensify it.
Right.
You can go up. It's more of a vertical thing than a horizontal thing.
That has its own element of unpopularity.
It does, as does, being more land consumptive. So it's just that, which do you prefer? Right. In certain areas.
But just going to 3 stories instead of 2.5 can get us moving in the right direction, and it isn't that big a step. Because the heights, you're still within the same height.
You're seeing the same height.
It's the slope of it basically is the slope of the roof line and.
Right.
And you have that for commercial accommodations today.
Right.
You can go 3 full stories.
We have to decide if we want to do it with a residential component, whether we want it or not, because it's going to change the look. That'll be a big decision of ours.
Or then you say to yourselves, maybe your habitable space needs to comport with 35 feet, but design elements can go higher. Parapets, pitched roofs, things of that nature, once you get into the form. Because
That would keep the look the same.
that would keep the look. It'll be taller, but it'll
So you
keep-
wouldn't force everyone to have a flat roof to get to the 35.
Correct.
You could still have a pitched roof.
The bank
And
on East Main
And it's
Street.
more of an architectural decision than a use decision.
The bank on East Main Street, the parapets are at 44 feet. Top of the parapets.
Yeah.
So, there's things, again, like we said, 32 units an acre, people, might have a reaction to, but that's the odd fellows. So once you say, 44 feet, but that's to a parapet or a roof, top of the roof, not so bad. But first things first, go out and familiarize yourself with this area. This might be your reset area for multifamily. Kind of comports with the reset report. Familiarize yourself with these FAR values, and give yourself a visual, and we will be seeing you again soon with some verbiage to this, and maybe a link to your TDR. That's my homework.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, we're moving ahead.
Yeah. That looks great.
In pictures, like that.
Yes.
Pictures. Illustrations.
Okay, we've already done general correspondence. We took that right up to the beginning, and now we're doing future agenda items. We have a joint meeting scheduled.
If there's nothing you can think of, we'll put it on the agenda again next week, and then we'll go from there. I have nothing to report from downstairs. But if you folks have some ideas, that's great. You may want to report on Davis Straits, what you're doing. I think that's that might start the educational process out there.
I agree. Well, I'll work on an agenda with Selectman Moran, and I'll have it for our next meeting, and I'll make sure that is on it, but go ahead.
We're meeting, our joint meeting is the 14th. Do we have our agenda?
Nope.
Not yet.
That's possible future agenda.
Well, I just said I actually was probably supposed to do it already, and I didn't, so excuse me, I will have it done immediately.
Well, again, but tonight you can also get some guidance from the board members.
Yes.
It sounds as though Davis Straits and what you're proposing here is a great topic to get out there to everybody. Take, some time to alert not only your other fellow boards, but the public that this is coming down the tracks. So I got that done, Davis Straits.
Oh, you have some?
Yeah, my understanding, this is a joint meeting between the Board of Selectmen and the Planning Board. Initially, there was some invitation of other boards. I think it's hopefully it's just going to be a representative of those boards.
If that's what you would like to have?
I'd like to see that, yeah. We
Okay.
mentioned that before.
You all feel that way too?
I already talked to Sue about it.
Okay, well then we can, I'll bring that up.
Yeah, because
Whatever you want.
otherwise there'd be 40 people there, and that's...
Whatever you want, Paul. I'm with you.
And secondly, the draft agenda had an item on the accessory bylaw. I think the issue of accessory bylaw has been raised by the health department. And I think we need to have a discussion with the health department and the planning board rather than bring it up in front of the board of selectmen at that time.
So take it off?
Okay.
So I think it'd be better not to have that, but have a separate offline or...
How do we have a meeting? We can't summon them to come to our meeting. What's the best way to have a...
Let me work in the background to find out just what it is they're thinking downstairs and come back and do a bit more offline. But you're right, that's a topic, I think, right, not worthy of it should be a global issue. Should be something of townwide significance. Bring in those other boards that will be somewhat affected, or their representatives. But the two elected boards should be talking higher level. Right?
Pat?
Well, good, if we're going to truncate the other boards so that we're not going to have 40 people in the room.
Yeah, what's
because
going to work?
I have always envisioned these joint meetings as being, yeah, we can have specific agenda items, but more blue sky, which is exactly what we're talking about here. The transfer of development rights, being brought into multifamily housing, being brought into this redevelopment area, and really get some thoughts coming back from them at what they think of all of this that we're thinking of, so that we get their input to begin with. Remember when we had the meeting with the reset and the visioning on that, we all sat in this room and people gave the commission ideas based upon slides that they were showing as to what was acceptable and what wasn't acceptable along this whole area here. So if we can set something up like that at the joint meeting, it might be quite valuable.
Okay. All right, well, Jim and I will converse with Julian and Sue Moran and come up with some higher level discussions. Very good.
I think that was the last item we had on our agenda.
Right. So I just want to make sure you're meeting again next week. There are some plans upstairs. If you haven't had an opportunity to take a look at, you stop by. You will see a remand on Cypress Street. A remand from the land court on Cypress Street. So just come in and familiarize yourself with the changes. It was a plan that was appealed to the land court. This decision of this board is a voluntary remand. The plan has changed. So just come on in and take a look. I can bring you up to speed on what the negotiations have evolved into.
Okay, so I thought I heard a motion and a second.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.